Hey guys, Jonathan with Retethered here. So Apple gave us a new MacBook Air with a fresh new design, new M2 chip, updated display, and more. But that wasn't the only MacBook that got the new M2 chip. Apple also gave us a new MacBook Pro 13-inch with the M2 chip. Now, I say new like that because there isn't much new about the MacBook Pro 13-inch. It has the same design, same display, same speakers as the previous model. Apple literally got the M1 MacBook Pro 13-inch, they ripped out the M1 chip inside, and they slapped in the M2 chip. Literally, that's how it is. Everything's the same except for the M2 chip. Now, it's great that Apple's putting their latest chipset into more devices, but the MacBook Air, the new and updated and refreshed MacBook Air, that one starts at $1,199 or $1,200. The new MacBook Pro 13-inch with the M2 chip starts at $1,299 or $1,300. So all you're really getting for $100 more is 2 more GPU cores, which sounds more than it actually is, a bigger battery slightly, the touch bar, which no one really cares about, an active cooling system, which tests have shown that it does improve performance, but slightly, not drastically, and that's pretty much it. Would you rather have that, or would you rather go with the MacBook Air, and that gives you $100 more in your pocket, MagSafe charging, a slightly larger and better display, a 4-speaker system instead of a 2-speaker system that you get with the MacBook Pro 13-inch, and a fresh new design? Look, I get performance-wise, the MacBook Pro 13-inch, even though it has that older design, it's going to perform better than the MacBook Air. But it's not going to be a huge difference. Honestly, personally speaking, I think it would be hard for me to go with the MacBook Pro 13-inch over the MacBook Air with the M2 chip. The only reason why I think Apple added the M2 chip to the MacBook Pro 13-inch was probably because they have so many of these MacBook bodies available or left over, or because they know margins on these MacBooks, they're going to be great. They've been making MacBooks with that same design for a while now, so I'm sure those supply chains are set, and it just costs a lot less to have this design, which means more money in Apple's pocket. Now, I don't expect many people to buy the MacBook Pro 13-inch with the M2 chip, but there will be some. I can picture someone not knowing anything or much about these MacBooks, but they want to buy a MacBook. So they go to the store and they see the MacBook Air sitting right next to the MacBook Pro, and then seeing there's only $100 difference. So they think to themselves, would I rather just pay an extra $100 and go with this Pro machine? Because this is just an Air. This is an actual Pro machine. It obviously has to be better, right? But it's not in a lot of ways. I would have loved to see an actual refreshed MacBook Pro 13-inch with the new MacBook design language. Give me MagSafe charging on that 13-inch, a new display with thinner bezels just like the new MacBook Pros, more ports because after all it's a Pro machine, and I think if you did that, Apple could have got away with charging $1,500, $1,600 for that machine. You might think I'm crazy, but think about it. The MacBook Air starts at $1,200. The refreshed MacBook Pro 13-inch with M2 starts at maybe $1,500. And if you really want to get better performance, because you just need better performance, you have the 14-inch MacBook Pro at $2,000 and then the 16-inch at $2,500. That would make way more sense to me than having this kind of refresh, not really 13-inch MacBook Pro. Yeah, the 13-inch would be more expensive, but you could actually see the reason why you would go with that Pro machine over the MacBook Air. It would have the same design, slightly thicker because it's a MacBook Pro, more ports, active cooling, more GPU cores to start with, and I don't know, maybe start it off with 512 gigabytes of storage because, I mean, 256 is just way too small, especially for a Pro machine. If this is actually going to be a Pro machine, start it off with 512. That would make a really compelling MacBook Pro 13-inch. You could charge $1,500, maybe $1,600, and I'm sure that would make more sense. The whole lineup would make a lot more sense, and maybe they're just waiting to do a refresh of the MacBook Pro 13-inch. Maybe we'll get it later this year or next year, and that's usually what Apple does. They never refresh all of their lineup at once. They'll choose one or two, do a refresh, and then they'll wait a little bit and then do the others. So I expect that to happen. Hopefully. It's still not worth going with the MacBook Pro 13-inch with the M2 chip inside, at least in my opinion. Go with the MacBook Air. But what do you guys think? Is the MacBook Pro 13-inch worth it? Or do you agree with me and you should just stick with the MacBook Air, the new MacBook Air? Let me know with a comment down below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more videos just like this one on tech news, reviews, and opinions, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of our new videos, and I'll see you on the next one.